Hello friends, welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today we have a super exciting video because we're talking about plot twists. And I'm not just talking any old plot twists, I'm talking the best plot twists. I have done another book recommendation video on my channel before talking about plot twists, so I'll link that in the description below because these are a fresh set of 15. There'll be no overlap with that video, so if you've watched this video and then decide, maybe I need some more, I don't know, you might need 30, you can check that one out after. So here are 15 of the very best plot twists that I have read out of more than 400 thriller books. So this will be perfect if you're in a reading slump or you want to pick up a book you know you will love and will have a really satisfying ending. But before we dive in, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also turn on notifications if you don't want to ever miss a fantastic thriller book recommendation. You can also become a member of my channel now as well for exclusive access. These books are in no particular order, so I'm just going to dive into the first one, and it is top of this pile only because it was my last 5-star read. It is of course Love Mum by Ileana Zander. I read this recently in a 24-hour readathon and it was the perfect book for it. It was super fast paced, the plot twist was extremely rewarding. If you want to see me actually reading this, I'll link this here as well. This follows our female main character Mackenzie, whose mum passed away, but after the funeral starts receiving these letters titled Love Mum. We literally get to read these letters as well, which I think is really nice to add that like extra layer of multimedia. So before she passed away, her mum was a very famous thriller author, so people want to know what really happened. And because of this, she's obviously drawn back to her hometown. That is how every good thriller book starts, and one of her childhood friends is trying to help her solve what's going on as well. I feel like the last 30% of this book is what did it for me. It was a great concept, it was amazingly executed, but then the twist at the end, delicious. Next up is a book by Lucinda Berry, and I feel like with Lucinda Berry the main plot twist always is whether she's going to include a twist or not. She's notorious for making you think there's something big and explosive coming and then it being a twist or not being a twist. So the book in question is Keep Your Friends Close, and I absolutely love this because it was a perfect domestic thriller with rich people drama, which I just love personally. I know rich people drama is not everyone's cup of tea, but for me. So we're following a group of West Hollywood mums and they're all at this party until the owner of the house is found in the pool unalived, making every single person at the party a key suspect. And we're following multiple points of view in this as well, so you're getting it from everyone's perspective. The police are mainly focusing on the women's friends, so our suspicions turn immediately to her like closest circle, but also some suspicion falls on the husbands. And honestly, I never would have seen this coming, but I think because there was such a good pool of characters, it really did keep you guessing. And Lucinda Berry's books are always on the short side as well, which I love, so this was like 270 pages. Next up is the closest book in the style of Freida McFadden that I found without it actually being Freida McFadden herself, and the book is Count My Lies by Sophie Starver, and this was just wonderfully easy to read with really satisfying twists throughout as well as being just at the end. The synopsis on this one's quite vague, but you really just have to go into it trusting that it's a domestic thriller that's going to be really satisfying. It follows this woman who basically just lies all the time, like she continuously lies, and one day she meets this guy with his daughter in the park who has been stung by a bee, and she's like, oh, I'm a nurse, I can help, and she just literally isn't, and then the story just goes from there. I feel like if people didn't like this book, it's mainly because of its simplicity, which I personally loved, and I really like it when you just pick up a book and you can just have a good time with it and almost turn your brain off, and it's satisfying. So this one really worked for me. It was this author's debut novel and is now being adapted for film as well, so she's kind of knocked out of the park. Next up, there'll be no surprise that an Andrea Barra book makes this list. If you've watched any of my other videos, you will know I love this author so much. She is incredibly underrated. She's an Irish author, and I'm not sure about the distribution of her books in the US. They are of course available in the UK, but I do get comments saying it is a little bit more difficult to get them in the US and Canada, so might be worth checking. Either way, she's absolutely wonderful, and the book I'm going to recommend for plot twist is Hide and Seek. This follows a woman who's playing hide and seek with her daughter one day and then she suddenly goes missing. But it's also told in dual timelines, so we've got the point of view of present day but then also like 30 years ago, and what I love about this is some of the characters in the present day are also in the previous 30 years ago timeline, but obviously 30 years younger. It did take me a minute for this to click in my head. I thought we were switching points of view and we weren't, they were just at different times of their lives. This was just perfectly executed. On the basis you're hearing missing person story and thinking this has been done a million times, but the way this author writes these stories, you're just hooked. It's the staple of what a thriller book should be. Next up is a book from Mary Kubica, and you guys know how much I love She's Not Sorry by this author, but I've chosen a different book for this. It's actually her debut novel as well, and I just think it's incredible that she wrote this as her very first book, but it is The Good Girl. This is actually quite a recent read for me. I only read it within the last 6 months, but of course it came out years and years ago, so I know I'm the one that's behind, not you guys. But the twist in this, I was like, are you kidding? So this follows a woman who's been hit on at a bar and decides to go home with this guy, only to be pretty much never seen again. I won't go too much more into the synopsis of this. I think this is one where it's better to not read the actual blurb so you don't know where it's going whatsoever. I didn't and had a fantastic experience reading it like that. But the crux of the story is, of course, what happens next. We've got really distinct voices in this as well in terms of the point of view, so it's very, very easy to follow. And towards the end, I was actually questioning my own morals, which it takes a lot in a book for me to do that and think, what would I actually do in this situation? I also think it's one of her more hard-hitting thriller books as well, but damn, it was satisfying. Next up is a Riley Sager book, which I know is going to be perfect for October as well, so take this recommendation while you can. This is one of his lesser popular books as well, and I have no idea why, because I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It is, of course, Final Girls. Unsurprisingly, this does follow 3 final girls, so each of them individually survived a different horrific event, like massacres and anything that's not paranormal but is horror, I guess. And our main character Quincy has completely tried to bury her entire past and just not think about it. She's dealt with it, she's moved on, but then one of the other final girls comes knocking for her and they're thinking, why are our timelines converging again? But the twist, sorry, this actually destroyed me, this twist. It killed me off. I was done. I was so done. I was like, Riley, how could you possibly do that to me? I literally never ever would have got this twist, and it's still one that I think about to this very day. Next is one of my favourite books to recommend, and it is The Drowning Woman by Robin Harding. I love this book for everything it is. Of course, we're talking plot twist today and it still had to be included in this category, but just as an all-round thriller, it was wonderful. So we're following Lee, who is homeless and living out of her car, but do not underestimate her. She is the girl boss of all girl bosses. She is a character that I really connected with straight away, which I think is extremely rare for me in thriller books. I am very much there for the plot and the twists and the kind of tension, but this character really spoke to me. And then we also have another point of view of Hazel, who is a very wealthy wife living in a house, not really doing anything, but she wants to disappear and Lee's gonna help her. The ending of this book is still something I regularly think about and something I would regularly aspire to do. Do with that what you will. Then we have my favourite Jennifer Hillier book of all time. This is another one which I think is underrated in terms of her backlist, but it is Little Secrets, and I love this. On the outset, this is another missing child story. So we're following Maureen, whose 5-year-old goes missing at this market. She's got her eyes on him, and then the next minute she turns around and he's just gone, like seconds have passed. But then we pick up the story in present day, which is 1 year later, and of course the case has gone cold, they've got no more leads, but she's still so determined she's gonna find him. But then while digging into this, she uncovers so much more. So much more. This is the kind of book which I just wish every thriller book could be like this, because it was perfectly balanced, the timing was on point, the plot twists were brilliant, as were the characters. It's just what a thriller book should be, in my humble opinion. And then it was just like twist upon twist upon twist. I just love it when a book does that. And then probably a bold statement, but the next book is maybe my favourite book of 2025 so far, and it is The Last Party by A.R. Torre. And while this wasn't the most jaw-dropping plot twist of all time, it certainly ranks very highly and 100% deserves a place on this list. I think just as shocking as the plot twist was the actual concept of this as well. So we're following our female main character, who is obsessed with a serial unaliver who is behind bars, and she will do anything to get his attention, including harming her own family. The serial unaliver is behind bars because he had this tea party for 3 girls, so our female main character's like, maybe I could just do the same and then he's bound to notice me. She crazy, insane, lost the plot. If you haven't read this yet, I highly recommend it on all counts, as well as there being a fantastic plot twist. This author's backlist is a little bit hit and miss for me. I've only got a couple more of her books to read. Some of them are very not twisty whatsoever and are just kind of more of a contemporary suspense story, but this one is exactly what I personally want from a thriller book, hence why this is like my #1 A.R. Torre recommendation and will continue to be. I don't think a plot twist thriller book list could be complete without Freida McFadden, honestly. She has to feature here somewhere, and the book I've chosen, because I mentioned The Housemaid in the other video, I'm going to talk to you about Never Lie. I think after The Housemaid, this is her most popular book, and I think it's for a reason. This is one of the most satisfying draws of a conclusion I've read. It's also got that really tense atmosphere because our main couple at the centre of the story go to view a house, like this huge house in the middle of nowhere, and then get trapped in a snowstorm. While they're viewing it, they've not even bought it yet. And while they're there, they find these cassette tapes of a psychiatrist that used to live there, and lo and behold, we also get her point of view. This one gets twisted. This is like classic Frida McFadden style in my opinion. Then I couldn't resist putting another Andrea Mara book on this list. I do just love her so much because of the execution of all of her books, and this is another recent read for me, and it was All Her Fault. This follows a woman who goes to pick up her son from a play date at this house. The friend has texted her. When she gets there, the woman has no idea who her son is or who she is, and of course he's not there. So of course a missing child investigation starts. I don't know why there's so many missing child stories in this video. It was not intentional. Maybe they're just the ones with the best twist because you're also emotionally involved as well as just being there for the plot. Also, this author's books always start like bang on with the action on page 1. Like literally this kid goes missing on page 1 at the very end. I'm here to pick up Milo. He's not there. I think All Her Fault and Hide and Seek are my two favourite Andrea Mara books. I gave both of these 5 stars. Next is a bit of a curveball in terms of a plot twist recommendation, but I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and this gets nowhere near as much love as it should. Maybe it's also because it's coming into dark academia season and this is exactly what this is, while having a huge thriller spin. I mean, it is a thriller book at heart, but I think because of the setting, it feels like describing it as dark academia first. Either way, it was brilliant. We're following this elite group called the Maidens who are at university and also their professor, but when one of the Maidens goes missing, we have our actual female main character who is like investigating what's happened, and she is the aunt of one of the other girls who's not in this like clique but is just determined to know what's happened. You've got a really good character pool in this as well, but not in a complicated way, just in a really simple, sufficient character pool to like draw your suspicions but also to not be too obvious. I really like Alex Michaelides' style of writing, but I think this one doesn't get as much love because it's not The Silent Patient, and that's the book that everybody loves him for, knows him for, and he kind of set the bar here, whereas this is more like a 4.5. I don't know, I still loved it. Then we also have an Alice Feeney book on this list, and it is Sometimes I Lie, and this follows a woman who wakes up from a coma, being able to hear absolutely everything that's going on, but she can't communicate or open her eyes. It did give a little bit of claustrophobia, I won't lie, but for the purposes of it being fiction, it was fantastic. So of course, going on around her is this story that's unfolding because nobody thinks that she can even hear anything. So people come in confessing their secrets, and she overhears the nurses talking, and it's just a whole heap of drama. So there are so many like little plot points that are shocking when they come to their conclusion as well. So this was extremely satisfying. I do think Alice Feeney is a bit of a hit or miss author for me, and just in general, some of her books I've really not liked. I have done a full ranking video on this author, so I'll link that in the description if you're interested, but this is definitely one of her better ones, and I rated this 5 stars. Next, we do have another Riley Sager book. Okay, this one is so tense. It's giving Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo if it was a thriller. So we've got the only one left, and this is following an old woman who's a suspected unaliver, and she wants to type out her story to tell the world and the caregiver that's looking after her that she's not actually at fault, but since she's paralysed she can only do this very slowly by typing with one finger. I think because she can only tell this story slowly, the pacing feels extremely tense and there's a huge build up for something that's actually quite a short story, but because there's so much tension in finding out other things in between the bits we get from this suspected unaliver, it gets really creepy. This will be another book that's perfect for autumn because you are really getting this atmosphere. Like, see this house on the cliffs? I thought I was there. Like, I actually felt like I was in the presence of this. There's a very explosive ending on this as well, and when that was all unfolding, I really did feel like stepping back to get out of the way of the debris. And book number 15, the final book, is Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. This is easily her most underrated book. No one is talking about this, even though it has been traditionally published out in the UK as well. This is giving big Bates Motel vibes, and we are following our female main character who unalives her husband on page 1 and makes a run for it. Like, what an opening to a book. And because she's now on the run, she has to check into this really dodgy motel, and that's where the real story starts. If you want something that's really easy to read, it's less than 300 pages and is going to deliver plot twists throughout the entire narrative instead of just at the end, this should be your #1 pick. So that is 15 incredible plot twist thriller books part 2. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any books on here that you're thinking, why isn't she recommending that? As I mentioned, they're probably in part 1, or I haven't read them yet, so please do recommend them so I can read some more. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you next time.